UFC St. Louis, pretty good card, I would say. Like, this is what happens when you take fight nights out of the Apex and you put some decent fights on them. I thought this main card was all pretty good. I just want to start right away with Ribovics and Terrence McKinney, and I want to just break it down right now. Esteban switches stances a lot. I studied him kinda a little bit for his first fight in the UFC, I think, but I just remember him switching stances a lot and throwing hooks. And here he was showing orthodox, and then he goes southpaw, and he takes that outside foot position. McKinney tries to meet him with a right hand, kind of does, grazes, but Ribovics was trying to throw his own left hand down the middle. He misses that. Ribovics kind of throws a little uppercut into the left hook, which misses. The right hook misses. It's all out of range. It's all just out of punching range. But then right when McKinney thought the exchange was over and he was throwing his little counter right hook and he thinks he's out of range, and this head kick just sneaks up so sneaky. I think McKinney might have saw it at the last second, right? Like here he might see it because he tries to start to bring his hand up here, but it's just too little too late. And just attaching kicks at the end of your punches is so money, as we know so well. And this is just, it's not shin to dome, but that's a really good spot to land, like right on the strongest part of your foot, like the not the ankle, dip in your foot right here, whatever that's called. Boom, stiffens McKinney up immediately, and the shortest referee in history has to go in there and stop it rather quickly. They call him Gary Copeland, but yeah, look, McKinney is just out of it. But yeah, attaching punches right at the end, or attaching kicks right at the end of your punches, pretty good idea. And then we go to Chase Hooper and Voloslev Boroshev. Not gonna be able to pronounce that name. And no, what did I wrote down? Chase Beeb Hoop Magomedov. It's pretty brutal. Just horrible joke. I don't know why I wrote that down, but you get what I mean. Amazing grappling, but it all started by rocking him on the feet. Look at the level change off of the jab into the looping hook from Hooper. Hooper with the looper drops Boroshev, and it just clips him right on the end of his face and at the end of the punch. And that's obviously a good time to land it. But Boroshev has his guard up. It just slides right in front and startles him. Because I think, like, if you're wearing 18-ounce gloves or 16-ounce gloves, putting your hand up on that, that's getting blocked. But with the 4-ounce gloves, stuff can slide in front, and it just tags him perfectly. And then the grappling and the ground and pound begins for Hooper. Hooper, for me, going into this fight, I was like, okay, if he can get onto his takedowns, then his grappling is really good and he can dominate anyone. But it's always a little sketchy on the feet because he doesn't really hit that hard. That was proven a little wrong here. But he doesn't usually have too much sting on his punches. So getting people occupied up top with punches when they're not too concerned about it and they're willing to trade in the pocket, like getting people occupied up top, then shooting, that's something that I was worried a little bit about with Hooper, but he dropped him there really nicely, and it just went into all the grappling exchanges, and he had amazing ground and pound, great top control, which led into the second round, where he does this extremely cool thing. Now, I might be nerding out for no reason, but as I was saying just now, Hooper, not a guy who hits really hard, but there are certain weapons that if you get hit with by anyone, doesn't matter how hard they hit, it's going to hurt. And those weapons consist of high kicks and spinning back fist. So this left high kick, I guarantee you he's drilled this exact takedown entry before because it's just beautiful. Watch him go. He throws the little left straight in front of it, clearly like not meant to land. Boroshev doesn't fall for it, but he backs up. He's giving ground. He lands into a spinning back fist. He has to back up again. He's giving ground. Now he's defending his third straight shot up top, and he's trying to counter with the left hook. Hooper's ducking under with the left hand into the takedown, into the single leg, head inside single. That was just a beautiful entry. Like I was saying, a guy who doesn't hit too hard, doesn't get too much respect, but he pushes his opponent back with big attacks, and they blend together really well. in an unorthodox way, left hand into the single leg. Just a beautiful takedown entry. And then there was a little bit of controversy at the end of the fight where Borislav looks like he taps, but he only taps once. And I want to talk about it because I don't think he tapped. So we see her with the darts. Look at this hematoma on the top of Borislav's head. Those were from those elbows. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. But he goes darts. And look, when they cut to this angle, you can see that. You see when he rolls over, look at all this breathing room. This is not what you want. You don't want the shoulder in there, like stopping the choke. You want it completely like a head and arm choke or a triangle. Like when you have that arm and the head in the submission, you want it completely just smothering, not like some space there. So he has space here. Hooper's rolling over. He still has some adjusting to do. This amount of space is not creating a choke. It sucks on this side a little bit because that's a sharp blade, and maybe the blade of his forearm was just sharp enough to where it looked like he could get a tap. But I think Hooper has a little bit more adjusting to do here. I feel like he has to use like his chest to bring this arm that is supposedly about to tap down up against the head, like using that and getting a different angle where he's more up above Borishev than on the side of him. But I think here Borishev's kind of just looking for his hip. Like he feels his back and then looks for his hip, but it really looks like he tapped. Like it's just it's not a very, it's hard to argue that because it really does look like just one big tap. But then he immediately goes to the hip. So I don't know. I don't think he tapped, but amazing performance from Chase Hooper. His striking looked decent enough to stay safe on the feet and get into takedowns. Obviously he dropped them, so good on Hooper. And then we go to Robelis getting exposed on the ground. He looked tricky on the feet as he always does, and he was a promising prospect, and he still is, but the ground game is rough. Just basics of getting up to your feet. His takedown defense didn't look great either. He had some of like the basics of like widening your legs against the fence, but as soon as it got to the ground, it looked like he was just clueless. Exhibit A, not even looking for the whole fight. As Cortez Acosta was sitting in half guard, it looked like he could have passed him out, but a lot of guys in the heavyweight division prefer just sitting in that half guard because sometimes when you go in mount against a heavyweight, they can kind of just push you off, as we're going to see in the main event. So that half guard sometimes feels like a little bit more comfortable and stable, but not one time did Despain look to dig an underhook and get on his hip. Not once. Just basic stuff. He looked like an amateur on the ground. He still looks very scary on the feet because he's so big and his hands are down and he's got flexible kicks, but not one time did he look to dig an underhook in bottom half. That's just very amateur. So still a promising prospect, but if he doesn't work on that kind of stuff, then it's not looking good. And then the next thing that I have on the iPad here is Lewis versus Nascimento, but I want to talk a little bit about Diego Ferreira, because wow, that was a tough performance. I don't know, it's not Rebecca, it's like Round Becky or something. Like they add letters in there that are not even in there. When I read it, it's Rebecca, but there's like an N in there somehow. I don't know how. But Ferreira weathered that early storm of Mateus, which every Poland guy in the lightweight division is named Mateus. He weathered that early storm, just like Mateus cuts the ring well, those big nasty hooks out of southpaw, comfortable in the pocket, dangerous, powerful. Ferreira got dropped, but he weathered the storm and he was digging these nice front kicks to the body, and his straight shots were really nice as well. And he busted both of Mateus's eyes completely swollen. He looked like a horror movie after what Ferreira did to him. And it was a lot of that jab too. He was just pumping that jab out. His 1-2 was nice, and on the ground he was dominant when he was on top. Really good veteran performance from Diego Ferreira, a guy who was on like a 7-fight win streak, 7 or 8, and then he fought Dariush, lost that, and then he lost to Gamrot, and then afterwards one more loss, and I'm forgetting it. But another like top tier guy or no, it was Gamrot. Yeah, it was Dariush, Gamrot, and then Gregor Gillespie. And then he took 2 years off almost and sparked Michael Johnson in that same way that Josh Emmett sparked him. And he's just like a veteran of the game. Good to see him get a win. Crafty guy. Might be a little bit late for him to make a title run or anything, but just a very tough test, as proven. Took big shots from Mateus and weathered the storm. Got on that front kick, got on that jab, and dominant ground game. Well done by Diego Ferreira. And then Buckley, the hometown guy, against Ruziboev. This was an okay fight. Buckley changing angles a lot. And like that, I feel like I don't remember him doing that much angle changing, because he's like really stepping off, and he likes southpaw mostly, but he'll sometimes go orthodox. But he was really changing angles into that like dipping, throwing hooks, Mike Tyson style evolved for MMA, where he's like down there, and obviously he had to watch out for the knees, which Ruziboev was looking for quite a bit, but he did generally a good job of avoiding the big shots from Ruziboev. And in the third, it took him till the third to rock him. But in the first and the second, he timed these beautiful, powerful takedowns and had good top control, good ground and pound. But then in that third round, he poured it on him. And it was just a great performance from Buckley overall. And he's in the rankings. He's a problem at welterweight. Like, super powerful. He looks a little bit tougher. He was a little chinny at middleweight, but he hasn't shown that same chinniness down at welterweight. We'll see how that goes. But very explosive. Those takedowns were really nice. Great performance. When he pulled triangle, that was bad. That was not great. When he was on top and he pulled triangle. Other than that, let's get to the main event, where we got a nice Derek Lewis KO. Nothing like a Derek Lewis KO. It's great to happen. But before the KO, Derek Lewis was doing some cool, interesting stuff, I thought. Look here. He's in the clinch. Overhook and an underhook. And he's backed up against the fence. Nascimento throws a knee, which Lewis blocks. And then he steps deep across the leg, digs that underhook high. Watch him lift this underhook up and wrestles him down to the ground. Nascimento does a good job at getting back up, but that's a nice trip from Derek Lewis. And he was trying a few of these throughout the fight. And even if you don't like go down completely, like Nascimento did here, if you get like off balance and then you try to recover and Lewis hits you with something, that's dangerous stuff. And he did that a couple times, did Lewis. And it's just like solid for him to be in the clinch and have those little trips. And then here, Nascimento ended up reversing, and this is what I'm talking about with mount. Derek Lewis has done this a few times where I think Roy Nelson was mounted, and he was just like, all right, I'm going to get up. And this is how he does it. As much as it is like, all right, I'm going to get up, Lewis kind of like just lets Nascimento pass into mount. And then watch Lewis, he'll post with his left, or his right arm, sorry, in between the, like in the armpit, basically, of Nascimento. And he'll just be like, all right, buck the hips, stand up, give up his back. And it is pretty much just stand up. And sometimes Derek Lewis, he's got a wide frame, and you can't, like, get that hook in and flatten him out. And he just gets up. Simple as that. And he ends up in a half guard. So that's what I'm talking about with heavyweights. Sometimes you can kind of just get up from a bad position, and it's nothing you can really do. And then we get to the knockout sequence, and Derek Lewis throws the same combination twice. Here, he leaps in with the left hook and throws the right hand, but he's just a little bit out of range. So he measures that. Now Nascimento is stepping in, and as soon as Nascimento lands, this is just a little bit too close. In this position, obviously the depth is different, but Derek Lewis tries to do it at the same time as Nascimento's stepping. I don't know if he's doing this on purpose, but as soon as Nascimento steps with that leg, he's trying to dart in. But then you see here, Nascimento steps on that lead leg. Lewis, that's what it is. Nascimento tries to trade and throw his left hook. Boom. And that right hand just... the trajectory of it is perfect. It's not a straight right hand. It's not a hook. It's that overhand, and it goes over top of the lead shoulder and over the arm and just lands flush. And you're not taking a flush Derek Lewis overhand right and not getting knocked out. So yeah, overall a pretty good card. Some cool stuff. Bring all of the fight nights to places. Don't have fight nights in the Apex. It's that simple. I don't know what's so hard about that. That's how it should always be, and that's how it was before, so keep it that way. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much, and yeah, peace.